This past year I was fortunate to publish my first book. I will show it to you because people like visuals. It's A Faith Not Worth Fighting For, put out by Cascade, which is an imprint of Whiffenstock. And I got to work with a great number of incredible theologians. Trip York co-edited it with me. And then Stanley Hauerwas wrote the foreword, and Shane Claiborne wrote the afterword, and then we had a whole bunch of wonderful scholars throughout. Greg Boyd wrote an essay. We had Amy Laura Hall from Duke work with another colleague of hers, Kara Slade, and did a great essay. And it was, I think it hit shelves, it hit shelves in the fall of last year, 2012, and it seems to still be going strong. So I'm excited about the fact that it's actually just been picked up by several institutions to be used as a classroom textbook. The book is a collection of essays, each one done by different scholar, theologian, activist. And we had a variety. I was pleased we had a variety of folks, from Catholics to Mennonites to evangelicals of different traditions, all add their voice in, and scholars and activists, so not just folks who are spending their time in classrooms, but folks who are on the front lines. But of all of them, I don't know if I should say this, but I have to admit that my favorite of all the essays was the What About Hitler essay by Robert Brinlow, and it's because I love his writing style. I think his essay is hilarious. I think it's vivid. I love the way that he seems to spend most of the time sort of setting people up by agreeing with the difficulties that folks have in their mind about what to do in terms of nonviolence with a situation like this. And at the end, he hits you with this, yeah, but we're followers of Jesus and we can't use the same kind of calculations that the world uses. And it also has my favorite line in the book. He says if we use nonviolence in the face of great evil like this, we will fail and we will die. And I am so challenged by that. And I think it's absolutely true, because that's what I see in Jesus. He faced these great evils, the Roman Empire, with nonviolence instead of calling 10,000 angels, and he died. But the great end of all that is that we as a people believe in resurrection. And so we will fail, we will die, but God will raise us again, and ultimately the Lamb will conquer. I believe that nonviolence is important and is a necessity for Christian discipleship, because I believe Jesus thought it was important. And I don't believe it's important because it's always practical, or that it's always the most effective way to reach the ends that we have in mind. But I think that not only did Jesus model it, he also taught it in all sorts of different teachings. And I think the New Testament canon as a whole teaches that. We see it in Paul's writings, we see it in Peter, we see it in John's Revelation. There's so much imagery there. And what I've experienced, though, is that when this subject comes up, people always have these sort of same questions or objections. And sometimes I think folks are doing it just because they want to avoid the difficult teachings of Jesus. But I think for a lot of folks, there's a really genuine discernment process going on. They want to know about difficult questions like, what do I do if someone's attacking a loved one? Or what about the fact that Old Testament violence seems to be ordained and commanded by God? Or what about Romans 13 that tells us, the government bears a sword for a reason? And all these questions come up, and they want to know answers to those. And I didn't know of any place where someone could go and find good answers, thoughtful answers to all of those questions. And so part of this, to be honest, was I was kind of tired of answering those questions. And so I was like, if I could put together a volume where I could just point people, if they ask me these questions on Facebook, I can say, hey, have you seen this book? I'll even let you borrow my copy. Though, of course, you should buy it. not because I'm making a lot of money, but because it's something you want to have as a resource on your shelf. But I was honestly just a little bit lazy and, and wanted to be able to point people to one place where they could find thoughtful answers to all of these major questions that folks are asking. Wrote a piece for Seedbed recently, and I started it off with, I didn't want to be a pacifist, and sometimes I still don't. And that's the truth. Just like a lot of folks, I have a temper when things don't go my way, or when I feel threatened or insulted. I believe Stanley Hauerwas says something to the effect of, I have to be a pacifist. I have to have a community hold me accountable to that, or I would kill someone. And I think that's true for me. It's not only that I see it in the life of Jesus, but I realize if I held myself to any less of a standard, I might be quite dangerous. But I went through this journey. I started off like a lot of Christians growing up in this environment where it was not unusual to really incorporate militaristic patriotism into our worship services, and that wasn't unusual. And I was challenged in college by a professor named Lee Camp, who actually contributed one of the essays to this book. And it was the first time I'd encountered this idea of pacifism. I didn't even know this was something that existed, and how I could have missed this in the teachings of Jesus. Kind of, I'm still, I don't know, but I look and I can't see. I can't see anything but that now. So many times when I look at Jesus, when he calls us to go the extra mile, instead of fight back or to take up our crosses, that we've given up our rights to even our own life. So my journey's been a slow one. It's still a journey, and some of my pacifist friends, I think, would like for me to be challenged more. And I hope in the near future that I can put it into practice in an active way, with a group like Christian Peacemaker Teams or something, to actually go to a place where there's violent conflict happening and bear some kind of nonviolent witness to the resurrection in those situations. Yeah, that's something we struggled with. I originally had my dad in mind. My dad is a country boy. He lives on a farm. He is employed by a small town on the streets and roads crew. He's a very smart man, but not someone trained in theology or philosophy or biblical studies or anything. And so the whole time as I was working through these, I wanted to say, could my dad read this and understand it and get something valuable out of it?